All right, folks. So we are going live right now. So welcome to the Raptor's Nest. I'm your host, Crimson Raptors. I don't know what the audio is going to be like on this video, so we're going to test this out for a little bit. And if this sucks, then that sucks. So let me see. Let me just check our hair. See, I wish the audio worked perfectly for me anyway, but it'll catch up to me here in just a second. Sounds pretty okay to me. What about you, Ultra Marcus? I thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate it. I think it'll work. Hey, Motormaster Studios. Let's see. Okay, so that'll work. And wildfire in there too. All right, so we're gonna move this around. What? Holy crap! They're like already like a lot of people. Okay, there we go. All right, man. Trans Aaron 38, Harry Alpha Scrapper, Bubbly Buzz, man. Man, I'm a little shocked. There's a lot of people in here. I appreciate it, guys. It's kind of making me kind of humble here. So I wanted to do this video, this live stream, to kind of go over the series and of Netflix and the Siege. And I got to say straight off the bat, like watching it, I was just like, so okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So I kind of want to like my impressions going into it were I hope this is good. If it's not good, it may be the end for any kind of animated franchise for Transformers. But the comic books aren't really selling as well. The storyline in the comic books that IDW has done has been extremely lackluster, and not even anything related to. Well, I say not related. I mean related, but like not even something that would have worked well as like an adaptation or um, it just didn't work. Like, and a lot of the art in it, like with those 5 millimeter peg holes for IDW. And this isn't a rack on the IDW book, but honestly, it's just it was nothing like this. And the animation in this, look, I know a lot of people don't like CGI, and I get that, but the Beast Wars, when we had that was groundbreaking. It wasn't the first show. Reboot was the first full CGI show. That was done by Mainframe, the same studio who did Beast Wars. But they also had a budget, okay? And with that came, okay, look, we can either fully devote our CGI to the characters and the actual models, or we can devote it to the backgrounds and kind of subpar the models. So in Beast Wars, they said no. The characters are what people are going to see. That's who they're going to get attached to. That's where we're going to put the budget and the animation to. So Raptor hands. That's funny. But so they did that, and that's why the textures and stuff in the faraway pictures are very simple looking. Even at the time, they were simple looking, but they worked. All you needed was the imagination. I mean, you knew, Primal and Dinobot, and the whole deal, the dynamic between the Predacon Megatron and Tarantulas' little plots, and Waspinator flying around, getting shot at and blown up all the time because the universe hates Waspinator. Then it's like those kind of things were completely like made sense and were fun and things they could work with to make the show great, in addition to great writing. With Siege, you had a very limited amount of episodes. Netflix, props to Netflix, but they didn't understand kind of like, well, okay, they know their understanding of what kind of budget they wanted to put into this show, and I'm sure Hasbro and Polygon Pictures and Rooster Teeth, because Rooster Teeth's doing a lot of the audio and kind of the go back and forth, and then you have Polygon Pictures, which is doing the animation. They have their budgets, and Hasbro has, okay, well, here's the CGI CAD models, right? So okay, so let's say I get a CGI CAD model of Wheeljack and Bumblebee or Cliffjumper or whatever, right? And they're just like, okay, here you go. Here's the toy. We got it. Boom. Okay. Oh, great. Like it's fully done for me. I could 3D print it if I wanted to, but it doesn't move. It doesn't have ankle pivot. It doesn't rotate. It doesn't have weapons that come off of it. All of that has to be, whoops, sorry, hit the camera. All of that has to be completely redone. I mean, you could say, okay, yeah, I got your model. I don't have textures. This is paint, or this is colored plastic. You still have to do, otherwise you're just going to end up with just that gray, like this gray kind of piece right here. That's what your show is going to look like. That's what your 3D models are going to look like. That's a lot of work coming in here and making all the bones for what are called bones. They're basically just, it's kind of like an internal wireframe, like a skeleton of, that's why they're called bones, right? And you have to go into that. You got to make for each little digit, each little finger and stuff. And that's why you see a lot of animations where, whether it's cell or CGI, where they have 3 or 4 hands, or I'm sorry, 3 or 4 fingers on their hand instead of 5 fingers, because that's a lot of animation cost and production and everything to put that all in there. So yeah, so Ultra Marcus says on here, sorry, catching up with chat too, that he loved the he gave up the IDW a while back. Loved the 2005 story arc, yeah, the Phase 1, Phase 2, but not where it ended up. So hey, GDA DK 12, welcome in. And then let me bring it back up here. Let's see. Yeah, Motormaster Studio says, Siege is pretty good. Prime, like TF Prime a lot better than Siege. Oh, well, a lot of people are making that comparison. They are both CGI. They are both CGI productions, just as Beast Wars is, and Beast Machines as well, to a lesser extent. But still, so they really have a that's their parallel, but that's where it ends, because their stories are totally different all the way across the board. And Prime had like MacGuffins all over the place. Go get this relic, go get that relic. Just something. What's the monster of the week kind of thing. Beast Wars they were getting their footing. It was a franchise that pretty much almost died out with Generation 2. It just didn't have that oomph, So in this case on here, what happened is you have 6 episodes to tell a very quick story, and I think they could have used 10, because that would have given a little more time for character development here and there. But they had models for a lot of the main characters, but they were reused a lot. Again, that's a budget concern. Now, a lot of people complained about the voice acting. And I mean, look, voice acting can always be better. Always. It is something that we knew going in. We weren't getting Peter Cullen, and we weren't get for Optimus Prime, and we weren't getting an Ironhide, and we weren't getting Frank Welker, as Megatron and Soundwave and Constructicon Scrapper and Ravage, and we weren't getting Chris Latta for Starscream, or as Laserbeak. I mean, there were certain concessions that were going to be made going into this. So if your expectation was, hey, I want a Peter Cullen, I want a Frank Welker, then that's the wrong that's the wrong expectation to go, because you knew that wasn't going to be in there. Now, that said, these characters are different than the Optimus Prime and the Megatron that we know of G1. If Peter Cullen and Frank Welker had been in there, that would have been great. But just like with Transformers Prime, those characters were different too, and it worked, but it didn't really work, right? Because you still have to have the rest of the cast of characters that are around them as well. So let me catch up with chat here. So this one, all right. Yeah, like Harry Alpha says, me Swoop, enjoy this. I do enjoy voicing Swoop in Earthrise Episode 2 stop motion with All Hail Megatron 1K. Yeah, shout out to All Hail Megatron 1K. I've been voicing his Cypher, one of his Decepticon pals, in the Cliffjumper adaptation. Well, not really a true adaptation, but more of kind of filling in kind of into his story, which is awesome. with the Cliffjumper kind of comic. I think James Roberts wrote that. I think I might be wrong on that one. Or Casey, no, Casey Kohler did the art for one of them. I don't think he was a writer, but James Roberts maybe. Maybe I'm getting that confused. Somebody will tell me in chat, right? Hey, input, what's going on? Listen, while working on stop motion. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm taking a break because I did toy hunting, did a little bit of animation, and that's what was kind of caused me to be a little late here. And then I had to take a break and get this. So I had to go get mail, and then I had to take a break and do this. So that way, I didn't want to leave you guys hanging. I didn't want. I almost thought about should I do it tomorrow, and I was like, no, Monday's a perfect day. There's like nothing going on a Monday, right? So Bubbly Bubs says to me, you know, I half like Siege and half dislike Siege. Siege is a whole mixed bag. Yeah, and hey Jay Holla, welcome in too. Um, so so that's the thing. You're going in there. If you went in there with expectations, this was going to be 100% G1. It wasn't, right? But they touted it as, oh yeah, this is going to be connected to the cartoon. Remember, we all heard that. We were all told that. We didn't assume it. You know, we were like, okay, well, how's that going to work, right? But they were advertising it as that. Obviously, once you start, just from the first 10 seconds of it, you're like, okay, this is totally not connected to G1 at all, because Bumblebee and Wheeljack points a gun at Bumblebee when he's just like, I thought you were going to lead us to the Energon, kid. I was like, dude, Wheeljack, what the hell? Like, like that's not cool, man. And here he is with Cog's weapon, by the way. That's the gun he uses. And I got Bumblebee, or the Hornet's agent, actually. It's not the Earthrise Bumblebee. Get the little blue sticky tape, but he's holding one of those KFC Energon cubes that I love so much. And see, it's perfect. He doesn't have an Autobot symbol, right? So if we get the Bumblebee, because Cliffjumper doesn't have an Autobot symbol, right? So if we get the Bumblebee, he doesn't have one, then it's still accurate, right? So it works. Anyway, but yeah, just the opening scene, seeing that the interaction of with the space bridge. I've never liked the idea of like the space bridge. You know, I liked it being Shockwave's invention. I liked it being a Decepticon invention. Space bridges couldn't. The way they used it was kind of like I'm trying to remember the IDW comics, but it seems like something that like Nova Prime would want, or Sentinel Prime would want a space bridge to go to other worlds or something. Like it seemed more like something toward that, but and Cyberverse, you know, because they already had it in Cyberverse. So I don't know. I feel like I like it being kind of a special invention, because if they have a space bridge, okay, I get it. They don't have enough energy to power them, right? But it seems like to be able to have a space bridge. I'm just like, well, what if they have the Ark, or they have like a shuttlecraft? Just leave the planet. Like, what was the point with the space bridge? They didn't have enough energy to get to like escape the atmosphere of Cybertron, or I don't know. It's like none of that really quite made any sense. And obviously, with more episodes, they could have filled more of that out. Let me catch up with chat here. Says Jay Hollis says the voice acting wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I only like Starscream's voice. So Starscream was actually the same guy that did it in Prime Wars, which I think that's Frank Totaro, I think is his name, or Todaro or something like that. He did a really good job. He had a lot better kind of acting chops this time around, and more lines to say, things that made more sense for Starscream, basically. And I think that worked out really well. I think he did a really great job for what he was given. I like that he wasn't quite the traitor, unless he killed Skywarp. But I like that this time around he gets to call somebody else traitor. So let me see if I can bring. I don't know if this is gonna work. Oh, Skyfire's too big. Starscream, like, I love putting him in these arm cross modes because it makes Starscream look so pissed. And like, if you put him next to Megatron or something, and Megatron's all giving orders, and like you put the Starscream next to him, it's just like Starscream's like, I should be the one in charge of this, not Megatron. And then you have Skyfire over there, like just kind of leaning back. He can't even do an Iron Man pose, man. He's just like, I am so drunk right now on Energon. Here, here, can I give him? Can I give him? Can I give him an Energon cube? Let's see. Does that work? Does this work? I always forget how the hands go. Like which one is which one. There we go. Oh, that's gonna work. What? Oh, maybe, maybe. Oh, it works. Oh crap. All right. Um. So it's like Skyverse. Like it seems I need to make the choice from science to war, but first I need to kick this Energon addiction. Anyway, I cracked myself up. Um, let's see what's going on here. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, Ultra Marcus was saying I've done a lot of the voice work for my stuff. Yeah, you guys need to check out Ultra Marcus's channel because animation, voice work, and stuff that's in there is really good. Super super cool guy. Totally, totally worth a sub at the least. Worth a sub at and totally hit that notification because I really like a lot of the stuff you're doing, Ultra Marcus. It's really cool. You've kind of stumbled across like a like a corner of like a little positive community that we have here in the Transformers YouTuber, like both reviewers and content creators and animators, stop motion animators, and all kinds of stuff over here. It's a really great group of guys, for sure. I need to quit saying um, but yeah, Input does voices too. I did Brainstorm for Input's animation, and I did it's horrible audio. I'm sorry, Input. Like just listening to his fantastic audio with everybody else, and I did did it again for All Hail Megatron and Gotbot, right? And like I'm listening to my audio, and I'm like, oh, I feel like mine is so much worse than everybody else's. So, but hey, that's what I got, and if it's acceptable, then that's good. I just know I need to get a better mic, better setup, better computer. So, um, but hey, you're welcome, Ultra Marcus, man. Anytime. Yeah, really. We've kind of like this is going off topic, so maybe this isn't like full review. I don't know, but yeah, we've kind of all been interacting for what do you think? Input like a couple of years. It's been 2 years. It's around the time Kato started and Larkin started doing because I found Larkin's lair, which I don't know. He may I don't think he's in here yet, but yeah, he did a Siege Shockwave and Siege Ultra Marcus. Dang it, Siege. Now I got it backwards. Sometimes I want to say Ultra Magnus instead of Ultra Marcus. Now I want to say Ultra Magnus, but now I say Ultra Marcus. Anyway, but he did a review for Siege Shockwave and Siege Ultra Magnus, and he was the first English reviewer that did it. And so I found him because I want both those figures, and especially Ultra Magnus because I wanted a modern version of him. I didn't care much for his alt mode at the time. I didn't care much for his alt mode, but I was just like, I'm gonna get him because the robot mode is fantastic. The size is good with Prime, and Shockwave I had to get because Shockwave is amazing. By the way, this is a non-F non-F hand. I don't know if you can still get these, but it's a non-F saluting hand. That's not what Siege Shockwave normally comes with. So he's just like, as you command, Megatron. Oh, that's a terrible Shockwave. Oh man, what's something Shockwave says? Cybertron shall remain as you leave it. Yeah, that kind of works. All right, but there's something else. Who else does the it's a Shockwave party. Yeah, Shockwave party. Yeah, you can do that as well. That's Shockwave. He's kind of worried. He's worried about Megatron hitting him or something, or trying to blast him with a fusion cannon like he almost did in Siege. And then Soundwave said no. So it's like, it kind of it's kind of like kind of brought us all together. So. And then Deluxe Baldwin, shout out to Deluxe. He did a lot of the interviews, like getting around 30 minutes or around 30 with people. His videos, and kind of brought us all kind of get to knowing one another and stuff too. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, see, Jay Holla's been here for a while, but he was afraid. He wanted to make sure we were cool peeps because he's a really cool peep. So, but yeah, there's a just a ton of people that just have all kind of like really kept everybody really positive and stuff, and I think that's really good for the community. It's been particularly fantastic this year because of quote unquote Cordona. Um, and I say Cordona because I don't want anything flagged, and you might not want to put anything in chat that will flag your chat. So that's why I pronounce it that way. But anyway, and this may be the one time I might talk about it on my channel. So totally, Shockwave. That's another example of like a character. Like, okay, we know we weren't getting Corey Burton. We weren't getting, that voice for him. We weren't getting the Prime voice. We knew that was. I think it's David Soboleff. I think it did Shockwaves in Prime in Transformers Prime. So we got a totally different Shockwave. He was really weird, but he looked like Shockwave. Things he did was a blend, I think, between both G1 and Prime. I don't think it was full Prime. I don't think it was full. It certainly wasn't full G1 because very like Shockwave. He has a space bridge, but like he didn't really have a lab. I mean, Starscream kind of took over like a section that he put Dr. Octaville in. It was basically like a giant closet. What was kind of Starscream's lab, but Shockwave's lab. I don't know. It looked abandoned, basically. Like Shockwave didn't use it for that. But yeah, for sure, Jay Hall, it's a crisis that always brings us together, for sure. But but like peeps. But yeah, so I love Shockwave, and I love Ultra Magnus. They really messed with their characters for me, but what was so cool about this show is that you had so Starscream was pretty much Starscream, just a younger version, I would say. Skyfire was Skyfire, but with a hint of Beast Wars Dinobot in it, because by this point, really, Skyfire probably shouldn't even be here. Like in G1, like he's trapped in ice. Starscream's like he's forlorn because he lost his friend, right? So, but that said, like it was cool to be surprised. I went in this knowing this wasn't going to be G1. I wanted it to be, but knew it wasn't going to be. And it did not. I didn't have lowered expectations. I didn't have too high expectations. That's Skyfire's, or Jetfire. But I call him Skyfire because he looks like Skyfire. His ratcheting hips. So cool. By the way, speaking of that, really like these ratcheting hips on Shockwave too. Nobody ever really mentions that. But yeah, so it's totally. I liked being surprised by characters we were seeing in there. Red Alert is another one of my favorite characters, and I'll kid you. I mean, again, like when he died, or I thought he died, I literally cried. Like the first viewing, I cried because I was like, no, not Red Alert. Like he didn't even get to say Inferno. Where are you, Inferno? I need you. He really needed Inferno there. Or that's why he wouldn't have got hurt, right? He wouldn't have fell off the cliff if Inferno had been there and he used his ladder to pick him up. But, and again, that Red Alert, he was a medic. He was really more like the Ratchet, right? But I like that he was different, but he was still looked the same, that it affected me and my love for that character. He's a security director, so he's always looking, like he's kind of got a paranoia about him or whatnot, but rightfully so, because there are dangers from the Decepticons. Uh, they've been fighting this war for a long time. I mean, when Megatron and Optimus Prime left, I mean, it really hurt the whole war effort on Cybertron, so much so that eventually Shockwave, they just ran out of energy. Megatron wasn't wasting it with a bunch of, hit and run tactics. The Autobots weren't wasting it by, trying to defend, and so they pretty much kind of stayed at a stalemate for a long period of time. Shockwave at least did something in the G1 cartoon where, he started disassembling Decepticons that were rebellious and started sticking in their personality components in for Megatron to deal with later. So, and that's kind of my theory with it, right? Because why weren't there more Decepticons there? And in the script for Transport to Oblivion, the original script, Shockwave, you first see him again in that fourth episode of G1 his gun mode, and he's firing for like no reason, and then he transforms to robot mode. So like people would assume that, oh well, they're just advertising the toy transforms. He's got a laser, and he's just like, oh, losing power, must try to communicate with Megatron. So, but he was actually defending against Autobots that were attacking his space bridge facility at Polyhex. So they were actually attacking, and then he was supposed to be showing blowing them back. Well, that didn't happen because they just didn't animate it, and they just probably did it for pacing rather than budget concerns. But that shows what how that G1 Shockwave would handle things. This Siege Shockwave handles things very differently. He's very much like a World War II, Dr. Mendele, like trying to experiment on the Autobots and trying to change them to his will. Here's a virus, we can flip them to ours, if they won't agree, and like very very dangerous, what would be kind of anti-Geneva Convention, right? If the Cybertronian had something like that, I don't know if there's like a Tiger Pax Accord or something, but definitely something that would have, been a kind of Shockwave for all intents and purposes had the makings for a war criminal. That's for sure. But I like those surprises. I think having those in there, and you're not having a full fleshed out story for everybody, but just kind of going into it, it really really helped kind of keep the surprises that I liked, and that's the stuff that's really cool to. I'm trying to think of sorry, I feel like I'm kind of rambling there. Sorry guys. But that's the kind of stuff that kind of brought me into the show. Like I was like, okay, I can buy into this. It's like, hey, Dark Conan, what's going on, man? Welcome to the chat. So yeah, Jay Hollow was saying, Shockwave was a mad doctor. Magnus was done dirty. Oh, for sure, for sure. And then Ultra Marcus says, to me, Shockwave should have a slightly aloof, slightly pompous voice. When I was a kid, I thought it was an attempt at an English accent. And yeah, it's Corey Burton was doing David Warner's David Warner voice, and I can't think. Okay, so I have a hard time thinking of what David Warner was known for, but I know where I've seen him from is one. He was he was Jack the Ripper in the movie Time After Time with the Time Machine, H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. So I know him from there. The other thing I know him from is from the Batman the Animated Series. He played Lazarus, and he did the voice for that. So that's actually that's the voice Corey Burton was imitating was David Warner's voice as Shockwave, and then he got that part. So when they had what was it, the Bumblebee movie, John 3.0, and he actually had suggested, I'm surprised, because he did the voice for Shockwave, for them to destroy the what was it, the launch pad, destroy the launch pad, like he was the guy that did that voice, and the epic voice guy. And so he said, I'm surprised you guys didn't get David Warner. And so they were like, huh? And like, well, Corey Burton did the imitation of Corey David Warner, and David Warner's still around, so he was kind of surprised they didn't go for him for the Shockwave voice just for that small little bit. But yeah, so that's knowing that we weren't going to get that voice was okay, but I did like this Shockwave and his kind of view of it. So, but yeah, and the Ultra Marcus still says, what is your command, Megatron? Yeah, a couple of character swaps. You know who the biggest character swap was? That was kind of a shock. And I think that kind of took me a little bit out of it was Ironhide and Hound. So Hound I never really stuck as like he was like a young punk, but he was definitely a younger Cybertronian than Ironhide, and their voices could have been switched. In fact, both their positions, like in the series, if you watch it, like they could have just been swapped. So you could have had Hound at the Ark, and then had Ironhide out there in the field, helping Chromia and stuff. And you could have had a little more interaction there. So I'm not quite sure why they made Ironhide's voice like pretty much like a cliff jumper voice, because it also feels like maybe that scene could have used cliff jumper there. So I don't know, because Hound is normally a scout, but it looked like it was going for that John Goodman, the Age of Extinction Hound. Is that where Hound's from? Is Age of Extinction? That they used in the Bayverse, and then they had Ironhide, like they could have had that deeper kind of voice, but they just gave him that young one. So I don't know, very very strange. And I think with they were given both character models, right? So they had to work off whatever Hasbro was telling them. Well, I think this may be a situation of where they actually had like whatever character sheets they had accidentally got swapped or the names got misplaced, because that's what it looks like to me. But they were probably told, hey, Hound's a pretty popular toy. We got him in a couple of waves, make him at the forefront. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we got this rough, tough Ironhide that we've been using in the script. Just change it to Hound. And so something like that could happen as well, like right on the fly. I mean, they had Ironhide. Ironhide had his rocket launcher, which I thought was really cool, but he never got to use it. So whatever. But yeah, bad voice director, and Netflix doesn't like unions. Yeah, Input says that. So the thing. Oh, Ultramarine, Star Trek 5 and 6. Oh, really? Oh, David Warner was in there. Is 5 the Voyage Home or the Search for Spock? What's Star Trek 6? There were 6 of them. Okay, so there's first one, the Wrath of Khan. The Wrath of Khan, I love. I love the Wrath of Khan. And the third one, I don't know. The fourth one, I don't know. Maybe the fourth one is the Voyage Home, and the fifth one's the Search for Spock. What the heck was the sixth one? That's weird. Anyway, not the point. So yeah. Jay Hollis says Bayverse Hound should have been Bulkhead. Actually, Siege Hound could have been Bulkhead too. Like that would have worked too. Both those situations, but really, I wanted to see Ironhide at the forefront, but I don't know if they were. But here's my other. Okay, so when you're doing stop motion animation, and Input can tell you this too. 5. Okay, so real quick, Ultra Marcus said. See, I'm saying Magnus, right? Ultra Marcus. 5 is the final frontier, so I don't know what that's about, and 6 is the undiscovered country. Yeah, I don't think I've seen either one of those all the way through. Huh. Weird. Oh, and then Jay Hollis says Shockwave has been shelf warming for about 2 years. Oh, speaking of Shockwave, real quick. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. This is why I need to have like notes, right? So we made a big deal about Shockwave not having his little Sentinel drone with him, right? Or like, why was he charged $50 when he's a Voyager? I just like, well, why didn't they use these? If you had the toy CAD models, you make his little surfboard, right? You make his little surfboard. Shockwave can fly around, or maybe he has a whole bunch of these little drones everywhere, kind of like, like the Beast Wars. What the heck was that diagnostic drone? So maybe it could be like Beast Wars, the Beast Machine's little diagnostic drone. It's just like, like the Maximals are coming. So I don't know. It's just like you had this. it's got guns on the bottom. You could make it like an upside down ship, something. So that right there kind of irks me, because this is something that didn't require a lot of bones. You just put the pieces together and just fire lasers from it, make things light up. That some light refraction. This is something they could have used, even in the background, just have broken pieces everywhere when somebody like gets blown up or something. So I do find this odd not having this included, especially when Hasbro, knowing the fandom, didn't really want to pay $50 for Shockwave. And it's not that Shockwave is not a popular character, it's that the price that he was at, people didn't want to pay. And I don't even think he's still not on clearance at Target. So I don't understand why they can't, have thrown us a bone and given us a little Sentinel drone that he should have with him. Like chasing female Autobots and male Autobots alike. So they could have done that. So anyway, but yeah, okay. So totally Hound. I still liked all the cool stuff that he got to do in there. It's cool if it would have been, Ironhide in that respect, for sure. So, and Darkonan's like, yeah, I still need to get this Shockwave. Wish he had a slightly lighter purple. I'm surprised there's not a what you call it, like a cell shaded Shockwave. I'm surprised they didn't do that, and a cell shaded Soundwave. That would have been real interesting, like having him. Because then you could have done your cell shading, so you would have gotten like the red eyes and everything. This is painted on mine, but you could have got the red eyes and everything, and had like some blue across the tape deck, his chest, and on his arms and stuff like that. So I think that would have looked really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Soundwave's another conversation, right? Like, his voice should not have been that bad. His voice, in this case, is unacceptable to me. I could do a better shock. I mean, I can be humble, but like, admittedly, I know I can do a better Soundwave voice without a vocoder of just like, as you command, Megatron, like Rumble, Frenzy, Ravage, Ratbat, Eject. Like, that's just right off the cuff. So for them to come up with what they made, where you could barely understand them. So I watched it with the subtitles the first time around, so I didn't have that much of a problem reading, but I had a lot of problems understanding what he was saying any other time. He definitely had a little different personality. Again, everybody, it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like they almost did it on purpose, but like they kind of almost had a Cyberverse type personality to them, like the way their movements were and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but like they had Shockwave and Soundwave were next to each other, right? And so like Megatron was talking, about making Starscream the leader of the Seekers and all that, and like Shockwave and or Shockwave and Soundwave were like shaking their hands and look at each other like, what? And it kind of reminded me of that song that did what was the Backstreet Boys. It's just like, everybody rock your body, and he had like Shockwave had like his little wincy eye, and then he's just kind of like moving his hands really crazy. So it kind of reminded me of that 3D animation on YouTube from way back when. Like, they moved too quickly and too weirdly for Shockwave and Soundwave. It was out of place. That said, totally they should have fixed his voice. I mean, if that was the first take and they just used it and something else happened, dude, have somebody else do it. That guy didn't work out. I'm sorry. So, but because when they do Soundwave's voice in G1, like you do like what is it like? Oh, get you next time, Gadget, next time. So it's like the Dr. Claw, right? And it sounds more like Megatron, but it's slight pitch different. And then they vocode over that, and then that's what gets you the G1 Soundwave voice, because there's an episode called Roll for It in the original series where they don't add the vocoder over, and you can hear that voice right there. And Frank Welker's doing that because he always did that, like for Krulos from Dino Riders, like Questa has done this to me. His space-time energy projection will be mine. And so like that's Frank Welker doing all of that for those guys, but it's got that vocode layer over it for Soundwave, and they really needed to kind of fix that. I think that if there's any voice acting, 100%, it's Soundwaves. That was the one that was messed up. Ironhide and Hound, okay, we swap them, right? Starscream was on point. Skyfire did a great job, or Jetfire did a great job. You know, Skywarp was okay. I think it seemed like the Seekers were all kind of like whiny anyway. RC did good. Alita 1 did fantastic. Fantastic Alita 1. Hey, Chicken Fried Steak. I'm sorry. It's like I'm paying attention to the chat, but I'm also going off on my own tangents, right? Yeah, and see, Jay Hollis says in the series, Soundwave only had one of those things on his back. Yeah, I noticed that when when the Ark was taking off, and I was just like, there's something missing on his back. What's going on there? But on the toy, like if you put this here, right, like, and then you go back here, it's gonna hit this back part, right? Unless it's off to the side here, but you can't have it off to the side because his arm still has to move around. His arm will keep hitting it, right? So, and you can't have that because that just looks really weird, like for him to kind of have that kind of look. I mean, that works, but anyway, so I think they just took that part off, because otherwise it would clip into the 3D model of the other parts. So that also is another thing that's really cool, is that I didn't see any clipping at all. That is almost unheard of in 3D animation. Beast Wars, that happens quite a few times, some more noticeable than others. But they did have like that stretchy kind of waist, like for Optimus and Megatron. I don't really think they needed to do that for Optimus. I don't think they needed to have that stretchy waist. I think they could have just done the waist, wobble, like, just the what do you call it? The waist swivel. I don't think that was necessary. I mean, the fingers and all that stuff is totally cool, but I don't think you needed to have that stretching on the on the inside. So yeah, some of my figures have little add-on parts like Soundwave and stuff. So now with Megatron, one real quick. So Soundwave, did he not have any tapes? Like, he never ejected anybody. And then no, he had Laserbeak, but I don't remember him ejecting Ravage. But we did see Ravage, but I only remember him retrieving Laserbeak. I don't remember him injecting anybody. Because it was really cool when like he came back and Laserbeak's just like there, and Megatron's kind of like at this point of view, and like Soundwave's like, Laserbeak returns Megatron. Like, I was just like, oh, like, what fan service for us to see that kind of scene together, just the three of them, right? It would have been even more on the nose if Laserbeak had flown to Megatron's arm instead, right? And making Laserbeak like just random, what do you call it? Like just random cyberbirds that are out there. Like, that's just super cool. Let me go back. Let's see. We got, oh, hey, Larkin Slayer's in here. What's going on? Late to the party. Hey, this Crimson Raptors party. Okay, there ain't no party like a Crimson Raptors party, because a Crimson Raptor party don't stop. But now that you're here, Larkin, it's totally a party. Because you brought the root beer, right? And the pizza and the tacos, right? Yeah. And the cream soda. If Tay shows up, we got to have the cream soda, right? So she's probably, I think she's I don't think she's available, but anyway, so yeah, so like, Anyway, yeah, I don't remember Soundwave ever rejecting Laserbeak. And certainly we didn't see no Rumble Frenzy, which, or Ratbat, which kind of like was kind of frustrating because I've been looking forever for freaking Ratbat and Rumble Frenzy or Frumble, Renzy, Renzy, Frumble, whatever you want to call them. But I'm looking for this forever. Finally get it. And I watch the show, and they're not even in it. They're not even in the show, people. So I'm like, crap. But, I still want it anyway, because now I got Siege Omega Supreme to get. And I will get Siege Omega Supreme. It's just not a super priority right now. So I got some sources to get him, so he's not gonna disappear. But that said, yeah, chicken fried steaks, pizza. Larkin's like, it's cringy. But well, wait, which part, Larkin? So, yeah, that said, like, he got Laserbeak. That's great. We saw Ravage at one point, but we're not really sure if he was really related to, like, was he released by Soundwave or something? It just wasn't clear, right? We know we didn't get Rumble and Frenzy. We didn't get Enemy. They could have put Enemy in there. That's the red, mostly red of the robots. But and we didn't get, Squawk Talk and Beast Box. We knew we weren't getting them, or Slugfest or Overkill. I think Squawk Talk's like an eagle or a crow. I always think he's a crow or vulture or something, because if Laserbeak and Buzzsaw are condors, that's what they're supposed to be, or buzzards, right? Or mainly they're condors, right? But then I would think that Squawk Talk would be like, like another type, like a crow, raptor, maybe like an eagle, if you're going toward that raptor family. So anyway, that set, Jay Hollis says that set never came to Target. Yeah, it never came to Target either, at all here. So I was just like, well, crap, I'm just gonna order it, and I ordered it from China, and I was just like, if I don't get it, freaking PayPal will give me my money back, and eBay will let me buy another one. But I took a chance. I read the feedback, and I got Ratbat and Rumble, and I'm happy. I got the Spy Patrol set coming from me from BBTS for the others, and it's been sitting in my pile of loot, but I shipped it recently, so I'll get those here soon. But I just wasn't gonna wait any longer, because the prices were getting crazy and stock was getting low everywhere. So I was just like, fine, give me a $10 toy for 14 plus $5 shipping, like, whatever. At least I'll have it, right? But I wasn't gonna pay no 20 plus $10 shipping, or $30 or $40, whatever people were doing. So anywho, but yeah, so, but that said, so Laserbeak is Soundwaves. Sound Blaster, holy crap, how cool is he? Like, how cool of a character to put, just slap him in there and just totally. We knew he was a clone of Soundwave, right? Like, and it's funny because there's so many multiple CGI models of Ironhide and Sideswipe and Cog and Prowl and you got your Ratchet and your Ironhide, but it's just like to put in there, to have Sound Blaster and Soundwave in the same universe. Totally different characters, clone nevertheless a Soundwave, but still had their own personalities. I just loved the Sound Blaster character. I was totally shocked when I saw him. I was like, dude, he's a mercenary, man. He's like the freaking, like, the Lord of War, like, he's got the weapons, he's got the energy, he's got, what do you need, what. And it's almost like, why hasn't Megatron, like, rolled in with his Seekers and all his Decepticon forces and just taken whatever Sound Blaster has? But I think it's more of like, maybe Megatron wasn't. I would say Megatron wouldn't care what Sound Blaster was doing, because he was. It seems like he was like, Sound Blaster is beneath his attention, or Soundwave. Here. See, this is why we need more episodes, right? More story filled in. Or Soundwave was purposely preventing Megatron from knowing information about Sound Blaster. And Sound Blaster and Soundwave were really working together. So, like, that would be really cool, but it doesn't sound that way because obviously Sound Blaster doesn't like Soundwave. But he's all like, Soundwave's not the only one with eyes in the sky, and then freaking Buzzsaw shows up, and I was like, what? I was like, freaking Buzzsaw, we don't even have a toy of him. Like, I'm like, come on, throw us a bone here, because when I know I've been kind of in this community and chatting and leaving comments and stuff here everywhere, and I just like I had suggested when we first saw Sound Blaster, like, he better come with a tape. Like, Soundwave looked like he wasn't going to come with a tape, but I was just like, he better come with a Sound Blaster. Better come with it. He's an exclusive. He better come with like Rat Bat, so it like mirrors the masterpiece, or he better come with like, I don't know, somebody like give him Enemy, give him Frenzy, and then Soundwave can come with Rumble, and then everybody can debate back and forth who's who, right? Or give Sound Blaster Howlback and give Soundwave Ravage, like, so that way you're still getting the same, sprues, or if they're all coming off the same one, which apparently they're not. But if they were all coming off the same one, then they could just, okay, here's Soundwave and Laserbeak, and then here's Sound Blaster and Buzzsaw, but they didn't do that. So you had to go running around for these Spy Patrol sets, and then we didn't even get the chance to get the Rat Bat and the Rumble Frenzy one. So, but yeah, so let's see, Larkin. What does Larkin say? Oh yeah, Jay Hollis says I need Rat Bat to go with Sound Blaster. Oh, for sure. And then Larkin says need Toy to make some Merc logos. Oh, or Toy Hacks has Toy Hacks should totally make some Merc logos. I'm sure they will. I think it looks a little too much like I don't even think. Do I even have a mercenary around here? Because I don't have Snapdragon yet. I don't remember. Who else has a mercenary? Anybody remember? Yeah, I can't think of offhand who has one. I don't have Slitherfang either, so I haven't seen Slitherfang in stores. Anyway, but yeah, the merc symbol to me looks like Optimus Minor, the Transmetal 2 little chimpanzee from Beast Wars. So, I mean, it just looks like his head. Like, it's just straight up his head. But somebody else suggests I think it's kind of like a blend between, like, the Autobot, kind of like an Autobot without the hat, and a Decepticon with, like, without a face mask kind of thing, something like that. So, yeah, Exhaust. That's right. Exhaust has one. Where is Exhaust? Did I put him somewhere? I mean, obviously I put him somewhere, but... Like, where did he go? I don't even see his box. Oh, I see his box. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, good call, Larkin. See, I knew there was somebody recently we'd gotten that had the merch symbol on it. Let's see. I haven't even taken him out of the box. Let's see. Whoop. Okay. We'll make it not so bright. Let's see here. That's too far away. I don't know. Well, anyway, yeah, his symbol like totally looks like Optimus Minor. So it's really weird looking. It looks like a monkey. But that's fine. But I just like the whole I kind of wish that we had the Wheeljack model, right? I wish they'd put Exhaust in there somewhere, just to have them just out there, like in the background or something. Like, it's like, okay, is that Exhaust or is that Slicer? Is that like Shattered Glass Wheeljack, right? So, yeah, I really, really, yeah. Jay Hollis says I dig the dealer vibe about him. Oh, for sure, for sure. He was definitely dealing anything and everything. It's like you want your straight Energon or you want your mixed Energon. So Jay Hall mentions the logo looks like Rodimus Unicronus. No, I don't really see the mustache on that. See, because what stares out for me is the big eyes, and then the nostrils that kind of look like a skull without a face. So that's kind of what I see there. So input goes, shattered glass, tasty. That's some tasty continuity for input. So now let's talk about Megatron. Megatron, you had the CAD models, and you didn't fill in the forearms. So pissed when I saw that in the trailer. I was like, you didn't fill in the forearms? Why didn't you fill in the forearms? See, because like my thing here, like it looked like that. Who wants that? Nobody wants that. Nobody asked for that. You could fit, who can I fit in there? Let's see, you could fit a whole blast effect in there. Maybe. Yeah, you're not trying to prove my point. Yeah. Work with me, blast effects. Come on now. Like, there we go. I mean, you could fit. Let's see here. You fit Mirage's missile. Just fit it right in there, right in the forearm. Yeah, he's got a little wrist rocket. That's what that is. I'm like, you didn't fill that part in? Why? Like, it's highly noticeable. And now that I think about it, I don't even know if they had filled in Soundwave's forearm. So I'll have to go back and look at that. But it wasn't as noticeable because, like, this part, like I have the, the little, 3D printed ones, and so that's pretty hollow too. It too can fit a whole blast port in it, or blast effect in it. But and this doesn't affect the transformation. Unfortunately, with Megatron, I do actually have some forearm fillers for him. I just haven't gotten them out because I got to review them. But hey, TF Angie, welcome in. But yeah, so I sort of filled it in. Because see, in my situation, I have those third-party KFC hands that are meant for Masterpiece Sideswipe, and it was hilarious when I was actually watching the show because it wasn't as noticeable in the trailers, but I was like, man, they're really using like all those fingers on Megatron, and it kind of made me think like I've been making some pictures with those KFC hands and Megatron and stuff for a while now, and I was like, they look very similar. Like for some reason, like the way they used Megatron's hand gestures and stuff. Like if you look at Prime, he really didn't have very much in the way of hand gestures, right? Like he's pretty much mostly in a fist. He wasn't like reaching out like like Megatron. Like he wasn't doing stuff like that, right? Um, but Megatron he was using his fingers. His fingers were touching things, going over here, like sitting on a table, like, I mean, they were all over the place, right? Pressing a button. So it's like, it's almost like they use their KFC hands for their Megatron as well, just so they couldn't have to show all the gap fillers, right? Or all the forearm fillers. Like this part right here, like probably like right here, about halfway down, this is where they had a whole hollow part there. So why leave that in? That doesn't make any sense to me when stuff like that happens. So, but Megatron's character, he's definitely kind of a much different. And this is all I've added paint and stuff to this too. So I mean, it's pretty obvious I've added paint because there's no red side like this on there, and the forearms, elbows, and stuff don't go red all the way around on the official. It's just one side. But so I don't know. I just like this was a Megatron that worked perfectly for this series. Now our buddy Rolling Redneck Reviews, if you haven't checked him out, subscribe to him as well. He does some really cool stuff with his Chrome shop. I think he's got a new video that's coming up soon too. But Rolling Redneck Reviews has mentioned that Megatron is not a rolling Cybertronian tank. He is a hover tank, because if you look here on the actual figure, there's wheels under here, but that's wheels for just movement play, because those front part of this part does have wheels, right? But those aren't treads. You ever actually look at them? Those are not treads. Those are vents, people. Vents here. There's 4 of them here, and there's vents underneath here. There's 4 more. And you look at his back legs. There's 3 vents here. And then you look under his toes. Vents there. So he's a hover tank. He should be hovering around like Fall of Cybertron, Megatron's tank mode, right? So like when he fires, he goes, and then he just kind of hovers around, right? But he didn't do that in here. He was a rolling tank. So, and that is easier to animate because you don't have to worry about the blowback and friction and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's like Larkin and J Hall is like, you guys didn't notice the forearm fillers. Oh man, I notice it all the time. I'll be like, because that's the thing I hate most on this Megatron is those forearms are hollow, and it's because you had Prime and you had Megatron, right? Prime, they did a fantastic job, and most of the budget went into him. And then for Megatron, they were kind of like, okay, we ran out of budget. Oops, there goes the sand. So they ran out of budget, and they were pretty much just like, I don't know. Well, yeah, just send it out. Then a third party comes. Well, I wouldn't say third party. A KO company comes by, upscales Megatron, and then adds in a little flap right here that folds out. So that way, when he's got his arm out, right, it folds in, fills it in, and then when you close the arm back in, it comes over on this part of it and like connects to like the flap, like it flaps over flap, right? Like, and I was just like, what the, like a freaking like KO company knew that was not going to be a good selling point on a toy and just decided to make their own design. Like, that's crazy. And Hasbro, it's not like Hasbro hasn't made their money off the mold. I mean, they got the first release, you got the cell shaded, you got the Combat Hero Megatron, then you got the Earthrise that's coming out, and it's just like, oh, and then you got the Megatron, the Netflix one, right? The Netflix one, and then you have the Earthrise coming out. So you've made your money off this mold and still not giving us, a new larger cannon, not giving us a new forearm. Like, just change those 2 things, make it a better toy, but whatever. So I mean, I got the Earthrise tank Megatron coming too, but the more I look at it, the more I'm just like, man, I only want it for the alt mode. It's like the Siege Megatron, I wanted it for the robot mode, but then and this is okay. This whole midriff part for G1 Megatron is totally cool. But yeah, Larkin says, yeah, the money has to come out of somewhere to pay for all the awesome employee benefits. Well, that's true. That's true. But you still have to make a good product that people will continue to buy. I don't think this Earthrise Megatron's going to sell well, truthfully, unless they just want a tank and then they want to paint it green with purple camo. But Hasbro's going to do that anyway, so you might as well wait for that version. But the Earthrise Megatron will have a more G1 accurate midriff, but it does look really cartoony and goofy. And so it's just kind of like, I kind of like this version more, even though I thought I wouldn't. I was like, oh, the Earthrise, yeah, it's going to look G1. And then I'm like, I kind of like the stylized look of Seeds. Like, I've gotten used to it, right? So I don't know. Maybe I could swap out the torso or something and still get away with not having to change anything else on it. But that said, yeah, third parties and KOs can bypass all that. All suppliers have to meet certain employee standards before they can buy from them. Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, anti-vents, huh? Let's see here. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, and then Larkin also mentions, Hasbro now does ethical sourcing for materials. That's true. Their packaging has gotten. I'm concerned about not being able to see your figure. Those are the packages I'm concerned of. Like when I got Skyfire, Jetfire, like I was like, okay, I hope this one, has the paint apps done correctly on it, and it did. But like it's just sometimes you want to be able to see that figure before you buy it. I think that makes you buy it more. Like when I buy all the Jurassic World stuff, like just for example, like the Jurassic World stuff, like it comes in like a packaging like this, and it's all open. but it still has that box, so it's still able to be packaged correctly. So it's just like, yeah, here we go. There's a Predacon meets G1, Predacon Megatron meets G1 Megatron. um, but let's see, we'll do that. This will be fun. See, look, that's a bonus for you people here in the live chat. You get to see cool stuff like that off screen, right? Can't even see it. There we go. That works. But yeah, so uh, they have their open packaging. This is Mattel, and then they have like the rubbery kind of. I mean, these are actually, I think they're plastic, but I think they're meant to break down. Well, here's the funny thing about plastics is that they break down. In other words, they fall into pieces, but that doesn't necessarily mean they biodegrade. That's why you got to source like plant matter and stuff like that, and you can kind of get toward that direction, but it's not going to have the nutrients it needs, like if you were to break down soil or something like that. But then again, all these metals we make and this die cast that's out there, and stuff like that, it's that's still going to take long time. But that's a totally different conversation. um, but yeah, so I would say on here, like the Megatron, they did a really great job animating, except for those forearms. I think they made him look really, really good. He was real grungy looking. I mean, they did a spot on, like just making him like grow kind of more and more evil as time went on. But there were other things like Skywarp. Like I forget, is it Larkin? Is it Skywarp's your favorite Seeker? I think Skywarp is, not Thundercracker. But like you had Skywarp in there, and he's a well-known character. Hey, just kill him, or Starscream did it, right? Like because Skywarp was kind of okay. He just kind of passed out. He was low on energon. So, and I was just like, you could have used anybody else in there, right? Like you could have used one of the Rainmakers. You could have used Hot Link. You could have used, anybody like, oh, I don't know, maybe Red Wing. Because like people were like really upset they couldn't get a Red Wing, so they could put Red Wing in the show and be like, well, you know what, collectors are sad they didn't get one. Well, okay, here we go. Well, yeah, Red Wing dies. Yeah, that's right. That way you don't have to go get that figure, right? But then people will be like, oh, good, we don't have to get the figure. Oh no, wait, if we want to reenact the scene, we got to get the figure. So, but yeah, I say Skywarp. I agree, Skywarp didn't die. I think Starscream stuck him in a locker somewhere with a really low energon, and he's passed out right now. He's doing like a Daryl from The Walking Dead, like Starscream just negging him, and he's got Skywarp with like a burlap sack on that says A, spray painted on Skywarp. Maybe it says S. He spray painted S on there for like Starscream, right? But you don't know. Does it mean Starscream, Slipstream, or Skywarp? What does it mean? Or Seeker? Could it mean Seeker? There's four things that the S could mean. Anyway, so but yeah, they totally could have done that. I mean, even they could have even okay, let's say we didn't do Skywarp, right? Let's say we did Hot Link. That would have worked too. I mean, that would have been really cool to have either one of them, Hot Link or Red Wing die. Hot Link, I like his whole bio and stuff. That's from the BotCon stuff, BotCon. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I think they could have gone a different way. It could have just even have been a generic Seeker, but they needed to make like they had to give Starscream somebody to say. Starscream just couldn't say, hey, Jetfire killed one of the Seekers. Okay, Megatron's like, well, which one? Like, I don't know, a Stormwind, Storm Cloud, Whisper, Visper, Purple Guy. Yeah, he killed Purple Guy. Harold the Seeker. He killed Harold the Seeker. And then Megatron's not going to believe that. But if he says something like Thundercracker, Skywarp, Sunstorm, Hot Link, those are something that's kind of, Starscream couldn't make up, right? But yeah, I agree with you, Larkin. I think Skywarp is alive. I think he stuck him in a closet somewhere, really low on energon. And man, this is really noticeable. Like just looking at Hot Link and Skywarp next to one another, like you can see just how dark that black plastic is on Hotlink in comparison with the grayish, kind of a charcoal gray with Skywarps. That's kind of weird. Um, but yeah, I mean I mean, I just don't think killing Skywarp was the right move. But they did it with Red Alert, right? They faked me out, and I cared about the character, and it affected me. So I mean, like Larkin, you like Skyward? Did it affect you like in a emotional way? Like you were just like, no, you can't kill Skywarp. You know, like that's how I was with Red Alert. I was like, no, not Red Alert. You know, like that's kind of like you have an emotional attachment to the character and the name, and just speaking the name that he could die, right? Um, so if it was Red Wing, if it was Hotlink, would there have been that attachment? Would that have mattered? You know, we would have had to have like developed that. In fact, actually, it's funny. Skyward kind of died twice, right? Because if you read the subtitles, like Alita 1 shoots a head off a Seeker, and it says Skywarp, and it says ugh, like he makes the ook noise as his head's blown off, right? So then later on, we got Skywarp, where she's kind of was shot at by Skyfire, but or Jetfire, not totally, but he looked wounded. Then he comes flying in, and Starscream just like he's like it was Jetfire, and so I don't know. I feel like they could have. The generic Seeker was at the beginning, and it was just a script error in the subtitle, but I think they could have used a different character, Yeah, see, Larkin says, like, I got over it quickly when I realized Starscream is fake news. Dude, Starscream is totally fake news. Oh my god, that's hilarious, Larkin. That is the second funniest thing I've heard all day. And so if you want to know the funniest, okay, I'll give this to you guys. Like, so this morning, my girl, the first thing she says to me is I said, or she says, she wakes up, she sits up, and she says to me, is like, I had a weird dream about Jimmy Fallon last night. And I'm like, what? So I started laughing for like 45 seconds or something like that. Uncontrollably. And I was totally off tangent, totally personal. But I was just like, she's like, what? I was just like, there were 1,000,001 things you could have said to me this morning. And that one was not it. Not on any of the list of things I thought you would say. Anyway, but it wasn't like that, guys. It's not safe for work kind of situation. It was just like they were wrapping a Christmas tree or something with like in July. Like it was like really weird. Like none of it made any sense. Anyway, that's on my channel forever. So, but yeah, so this is so taking Skywarp out of the picture. I don't know. I think a generic would have been better. I would say almost like, again, like they have so many characters to choose from, right? So there were characters we got to see that were way different than I think we ever thought. Like Mirage was really cool. Impactor was cool. I actually don't have Impactor, so we're just gonna stick him with Red Wing. I mean, I have Impactor. I just haven't taken him a box. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you guys are all laughing now. Oh man. Hey, Springer X Productions, welcome in, dude. Oh man. I'm still thirsty. I've been talking for forever. But yeah, so I like the relationship between Impactor and Mirage. I was pretty cool. I didn't expect that. We knew he was going to be a Decepticon. I thought he would be a Decepticon, like how Decepticon Disguise Mirage was for the Netflix Walmart series, right? For the little toy line. Like I thought Impactor and was going to be a Decepticon, and he's really an Autobot for real. And then Mirage is going to have to go get him, and then Impactor or like Mirage was going to accidentally break his cover, and then Impactor like had to get like Mirage out of there or whatever. Like I thought it was going to be something like that. Again, if they'd had more episodes, I'm sure they would have filled out more story, more situations they could have all run into. I kind of wanted something like that. Yeah, and Larkin brings up too, like, where the hell was Springer? Where was Springer? We had RC. Where was Ape Face? Ape Face was a late entry, right? Um, but we had RC and Bumblebee together, which I thought was like the weirdest pairing ever. I never in a million years would I ever think that we'd have Bumblebee and RC together, like on the same screen like that. Like that was way out of character. I felt like, because first of all, okay, first impressions. um, first impressions was when RC showed up. I thought that was Alita One in a Fimbot disguise to try to entice Sound Blaster to give them what they needed. And then I realized the voice was different. And I was like, wait, that's not Alita 1 in disguise. And then they said RC. And then I was like, oh, crap. Like, that is RC. That's RC. Like in the subtitle, it was saying, right? So I was just like, oh, well, that's cool. But at first I was just like taken aback because I was like, man, RC looks a little too sexy. I was like, I don't, because they had like the female hip walk, that we as guys can't really do very well. Nor do we need to. But oh man, this is getting way off rails. And this is just by myself. I don't even have other people. I only have myself to blame, right? Um, but she's totally feminine, and it she had a lighter backpack than like this Generations one, and a way lighter backpack than the Earthrise RC, that's for sure. But I thought she would have like her little boogie board. Like what would have been cool was like if she had broken out the boogie board, and like, if you're gonna ride, Dano, let's ride in style. And like her and Bumblebee would like get away on it, like, and Cog would just transform and or be weapons or whatever, right? Because remember, we never got to see the vehicle mode of Cog, right? We only got to see his weapon form, because I don't remember seeing it even in the background or something like that. So I just like this whole pairing they had was like really, really kind of cool to just kind of have that kind of interesting like dynamic, because I liked Cog. And I say when he transformed into the weapons for RC, I was like, holy crap, that's awesome. Just like when the one did it for Sideswipe, like that was super cool. It seemed out of place when it did it for Sideswipe, but I was like, eh. But I feel like when they did it for RC, I was just like, oh, that's cool. Like, yeah, like he's a whole weapon. Like they scanned him, like they didn't think he had weapons on him because he was a weapon. So that was really cool. I don't know why they needed to get into a speeder bike. I mean, or not a speeder bike. Oh crap! What's that thing called in Star Wars? The first one is it Land Speeder. Yeah. Oh, that's weird. I never knew they both had speeder in their name. Anyway, but a land speeder. Like, why do they need to get in one of those? This isn't Star Wars. They're Transformers. Transform and roll out or hover around. Either one. Like that was totally should have not been a thing. Again, if they had more episodes, maybe they could have done stuff like that. But I was like, okay, if your budget, you made a land speeder, and your budget could have made that land speeder, and whoever took the time to do that made Springer, why didn't you do that instead? So, let me catch up here with the chat here. I'm sorry, I've been watching stuff go in there. So let's see here. Yeah, Skywarp is a new Kenny, Larkin says. I said hi to Springer X Productions. We're working on a Halo 2 Aatrox. I don't know what Aatrox is. Or Atro. Maybe it's Atro. And then Larkin says, like, what would have been cool? A comic with filler stories between the series. Oh, my dude. Dude. Larkin, you complete me, brother. Like, that's exactly what I thought the comic was going to do. I thought it was going to be a companion piece. It didn't have to be the whole story. They didn't have to, but it led up to, like, it could have easily led up to what, we had in the show if they hadn't gone totally off the rails with, like, a Nova Prime and Sentinel Prime. Like, just, I mean, I'm surprised we didn't hear anything about Sentinel Prime. At least I don't think they mentioned it. I mean, I remember they mentioned Dreadwing. Bumblebee mentions Dreadwing as like a former Seeker that he worked with. Or, well, I guess he was a Decepticon Seeker, but like, I think he was pretty much a merc anyway. But yeah, it's totally. I don't know. I just like the comic is a huge missed opportunity to collaborate multiple points of media together. And that said, if you guys go to Hasbro.com and go to the War for Cybertron to like decode like the secret hidden codes and stuff on the Siege packaging, you just read those bios for everybody that you've unlocked. And because I just recently redid it, and I was just like, there's stuff in there that's very G1 like. There's things in there that has a hint of ideas, like Shockwave's lab, stuff like things like that. But like pretty much for the most part, none of it matches what we saw in the show. Like Cog is supposed to be a mechanic. We didn't see him fix anybody. I mean, we saw him got a big hole in his like abdomen, but we didn't see him fix anybody. So there's just kind of little things like that like they had story here, they had story there, they just didn't bring it all together, right? And that really is something where like Hasbro really needs to like bring in control of like their property. I mean, remember Transformers, GI Joe, like those are their properties. They can tell people, whatever they want to do with their product. I mean, that's why you have agreements for stuff like that. So, but all right, Lark and Labor, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in, man. I was just like, thank you. Have a great stream. Smash likes. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up here probably in a little bit. I don't even know how long this has been going. How do I tell that on StreamYard? There used to be a thing I could. Oh, holy crap! An hour, 21 minutes. Whoa, nobody's gonna watch this except for you guys. um, but yeah, I got seven of you are in here. That's crazy. That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, Jay Hollis says the series took elements from every Transformers series. Absolutely. Like any universe, like whether it's the Prime universe, the Robots in Disguise, from Beast Wars to G1 to Beast Machines, with very kind of the techno organic-y kind of stuff. Um, like, I mean, just completely like, uh, just kind of filling it almost like fan service in a way, like really is what I more saw it of. But like another thing, like again, if they'd had more episodes, they totally would have been able to add more backstory and stuff, and add even more things on there. But where was Six Gun? He was totally made for Siege. Why was his model not used? Like, he has tons of weapons on him. Oh, these two are actually from Jetfire, so those actually don't go to Six Gun. But I gave him some more guns, so that way he had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he had 6 guns that were out because I didn't really want to count the ones on his booty back here, or these little chest missiles and pods and stuff. Anyway, not the point. So where was Six Gun? Six Gun, they could have. I felt like the voice they had for Cog was the voice that would work better for Six Gun. And he did have a G1 voice in the episode Thief in the Night when they were getting all the ones with dinosaur transform static or whatnot, when they were going through the Dinobots and Skylinks and eventually determined it was Tripticon that was stealing monuments. So I felt like his voice, the voice for Cog, worked better for Six Gun because, and this is a shout out to fellow stop motion animator Swagwave _SM. So Swagwave, he has an animation. It's Soda Siege of the Ark, episode 2. I mean, watch them all, but episode 2 has the part where it has like, shot has like Cog and I think it was, what was it, Sideswipe and Hound. Yeah, so Cog, Sideswipe, and Hound were patrolling and stuff, And Cog, the voice actor that does, I think it's Stuart. So Christensen. I forget who does the. I forget exactly what his. I think that's his name that's credited in there, but he does a fantastic Cog voice. I would love to have him for stop motion animation. Even if it's not for this Cog, then maybe the red Cog, maybe the orange Cog, the mustard Cog, the ketchup Cog, mayo Cog. Definitely the salsa Cog, like the one with the sombrero. So like definitely totally have like total amount of Cogs. Like I gotta tell you, like he's an army builder, and I didn't want him to be an army builder. I actually bought two to start with because one I was gonna do leave him like this. The other one I was gonna do with all that's blue, turn him red, and kind of turn him into like the one that we saw in the trailer, which Input knows that's the one for Grand Maximus. I think I'm getting that right now. Because Grand Maximus is Master Force, and Brave Maximus is Robots in Disguise or car robots. Okay. Anyway, but so Cog now, like I've kind of created this addiction of like if I see Cog out in the wild, I'm buying them. I don't care if it's at a vintage store. I don't care if it's at like Walmart, a Target, or wherever. Like I was like, I see a Cog, I gotta buy them now. A Walgreens, yeah, check your local Walgreens. Like, oh yeah, Brunt, yeah, where the heck was Brunt? Like he's an army builder. Why did we have to have like a million reflectors? I mean, the Seekers, we totally get that, right? The Reflectors, they were kind of touting as like, okay, look, we're gonna make these guys like, drones and stuff like that. But Reflector wasn't really a drone. Like, he was just one guy that had two holographic buddies that were hard light holograms, so that way, they could take punches and stuff and deliver them too. But with that said, where the heck was Scrapeface? Or Scrape Face? Said it wrong. Very first time. Okay, Scrap Face. Where the heck was Scrap Face? Like, we couldn't have gotten one colored like this. Like, come on now. Like, we were searching for this guy. Like, all of us were like out there running around trying to get Scrap Faces and getting three of them so we make our post-apocalyptic camera. And it's like we were so close and we didn't even get him in the show. And then they had like 20 million of them, right? Whatever. But that's okay. But for sure, Cog, I think if you don't have Cog, he is a really good toy. I took him out. Six Gun is too. I kind of kept all the weaponizers in packaging because I was just like, meh, not really too interested in them. But no, he's a really awesome figure with all his ankle tilt and stuff. I really should do reviews, right? You guys like listening to me. So yeah, for sure. Definitely, if you see a Cog, you don't have them, get them. For me, if I see a Cog, I'm buying them. I don't care how many I end up with. I mean, I kind of don't want 10, but, I guess it doesn't really matter, right? They can just be pieces in the battlefield. But, yeah, for sure. Like, they had a limited scope of kind of the characters they wanted to use. I mean, we should be very lucky we got Alita 1. We should be very lucky that we got Chromia. I mean, when we saw that poster, that has, has Optimus Prime on it. It has Prowl. It has Ironhide, Chromia, Hound, Sideswipe, and Red Alert, and then the Seekers up above. Like, I kind of thought like, okay, cool. Those are going to be our main characters for the show because in that promotional picture, right? And of course, you're going to have your Seekers and all that jazz. But then we get to the toys and we're like, wait a minute, those Seekers are G1 Seekers. They're not Siege Seekers. And then all the rest of them are kind of like, like, okay, well, we got them in the comic, but it would have been really kind of cool to have them in the show. Kind of have that as like, like your main cast or something. But I liked how we had Alita 1, and I liked how we had Ratchet, how he got involved. That was really kind of cool. So, sorry, it's like I'm messing with the poster over here too. But I loved how they kind of made sure that everybody had some kind of spotlight, or at least a showing of the people that were there on that poster. I just don't like the voice for Ironhide. I didn't like the voice for um, Hound, but Prowl, I really liked Prowl. I definitely liked how Chromia interacted. Moonracer was weird. I don't know why Moonracer was Australian. That was kind of out of left field, I felt. Um, so, but I mean, we had female Autobots. I mean, we had a pretty sizable cast. I loved how like they just showed up out of nowhere. Like Moonracer in particular, like she just showed up. Yes, just a kind of a seafoam kind of minty flavor of Chromia. No different head or different alt mode or nothing like that. But I just felt like it was cool that the characters just showed up, like RC. She just showed up, and it's just really kind of I liked that. That's kind of the whole perspective of like a G1, right, where characters just kind of show up out of nowhere with no context. So a really great series. There's so much really to talk about, but the stream's gone on really, really, really long. But we'll definitely do this again. I really liked kind of interacting with everybody, talking to everybody. Ultra Marcus says, no, yes, I should totally do reviews. I have some stuff I got in the works for 3D printed stuff, as well as some things I've gotten from TF Safari and everything. Man, there's so much to talk to you about this show. But look, there's some people out there that are naysaying it. They're less like, this is not a great show. This isn't like, but there are other people like, this is the greatest Transformers show, of all time. I wouldn't say it's not of all time, but G1 is really high up there. Beast Wars is really fantastic in story and writing. Prime is pretty good. I didn't personally like Prime as much as others did. Um, and nobody likes Beast Machines or Transformers Energon. But but yeah, I totally got to say that this is definitely in the top three. I would say this is G1, Beast Wars, and Siege. Those are probably with Transformers Prime being around there. But Cyberverse Cyberverse doesn't hold a candle to the Siege series. I mean, just the 6 episodes alone, it did really great. It was 2 hours of your time invested, and you wanted more. People wanted more. Change a couple of voice actors. Make it longer. I mean, it's perfect, right? Um, Especially going in this direction. And I agree, Jay Holly, saying that Earthrise will be much better. Oh, for sure. Because they now know what the fans wanted. They delivered what people wanted, and it was different. It was grittier. It was darker, and it was better. And it was exactly like people were talking about like, okay, kids couldn't watch this or something like that, and it's like, yeah, it's not meant really for kids. It's meant for us. It's meant for those probably 12 and up. Honestly, like because it's not. It's dealing with a lot of, in this case, political situations with the Autobots and the Decepticons, and two different ideals of how things should work. One doesn't agree with the other, but they all want a unified Cybertron. It's just, how do you go about that? You do it by force? Do you do it by treachery? Do you do it by elitism? Do you do it by class and caste systems? Like it's Do you do it by function? Like there's so many competing situations there between just those ideals, and it's a situation where like it is very topical. G1 was, hey, they're running out of energy. Well, what did we have in the 80s and 70s, right? Or the 70s, right? They had the oil crisis, so they had an energy crisis, so that translates into Transformers. Here nowadays we have a political situation where you have the have and the have-nots, been going on for a long time, but it really came to a head in the mid 90s, and then it headed back down, right? But it was resurfaced more recently. Probably in the past like 10 years, it's been far more prevalent. I would almost venture to say a little more than that. It's been more prevalent, but that's where Transformers comes in with the haves and the have-nots in a situation. But there's people on both sides that have and have not, right? Then you got Bumblebee and you got Sound Blaster. Bumblebee is a have not. Sound Blaster is a have because he's made that life work for him. And Bumblebee's made his life work for him too, but he only gets just what he needs, and he doesn't always have everything, but he knows where to get it. So it's really a really different dynamic. I liked Bumblebee too, like his character. The whole character change. Like I'm just so glad he has a voice now, right? So, but oh yeah, I don't know. So TF brings up, and I know I'm trying to end the stream here, but yeah, Minimus Ambus, never liked that idea. I'm a huge Ultra Magnus fan, and I am okay with Pat Lee's, white Prime with armor around him. I'm okay with that. I am not okay with Minimus Ambus. I get that worked in the IDW story as a situation, and it made sense for that situation. Still didn't quite fully agree with it because I like my Ultra Magnus to be he's a soldier. He's just what he said to Prime. He's like, I'm a soldier. I'm not worthy, Prime. I have some old and solved mysteries to solve. And if you know the whereabouts of Hot Rod, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I just don't like the Minimus Ambus idea at all. I think it's funny. Maybe they could have had some kind of attachment with a rung. I think that would have been kind of cool to have. I mean, we bought the toy rung, right? Like, I mean, we were getting that because of IDW, but couldn't you put him in the show somewhere? Couldn't you, like maybe he's there in the background? Like you could have snuck him in, but again, it's another character model. So, but yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, DF Angie says, yeah, thankfully it did not take cues from Energon. Oh, for sure. And JL was like, Energon was terrible. We're talking about the show, not the drink, right? Energon the drink is fantastic. Got those little Energon goodies. Now, I'll leave you with this. So after everything's gone, right? And the arc launches, everybody's back. Who's the unidentified ship? Like, who could it be? Right? Could it be the Quintessons? Dun dun dun. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you joining me in here. Again, there's a lot to discuss, a lot to digest. I would like to do a round table discussion at some point. I mean, we kind of done that on the Tales from Teletran podcast that we do on Saturdays on In-Puts channel, Input Reviews. And that is going to be from 2 to 4 p.m., roughly 4 p.m.-ish, like at the end. But usually we go 2 hours the most, but an hour and a half. But 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on Inputs channel, Tales from Teletran. Catch us over there on Saturdays. A really great group of guys, a really great group of, audience members and stuff. And we're kind of finding our audience kind of everywhere we go. They're following us, and we're gaining more too. So we got, a great girl, Danny Dolphin. You got Input, myself, and Roland Redneck Reviews and Cato's collection as well. So definitely come check us out there. Again, that's on Input's channel, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tales from Teletran. And we will catch you on the flip side. So I appreciate everybody. And as TFN Geek says, and as Optimus Prime says, Autobots, transform and roll out. Do, 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 do.